Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News live from Warsaw. Russia needs to be reminded that Europe is capable of nuclear defense, says Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski in response to the idea of potentially extending France's nuclear umbrella to Poland. Sikorski also said that the Russia-Ukraine meeting in Turkey will be a test of Moscow's will to end the conflict.
France is an important ally, which is why we recently signed a treaty with them in Nancy that includes strong provisions on security. Signaling to Russia that Europe is also capable of nuclear defense is useful. Unfortunately, I believe that President Putin is not being sincere and is mocking the President of the United States. But Thursday will be the real test. It seems to me that if Russia does not agree to a ceasefire and does not engage in real negotiations on Thursday, President Trump will have every justification to shift his policy towards one that puts pressure on the aggressor.
US President Donald Trump has not ruled out the possibility he will partake in peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia taking place in Turkey. Trump said his participation would be subject to Russian President Vladimir Putin being present at the negotiating table. Whether the Russian leader will show up in Turkey remains to be seen.
I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about it. And tomorrow, we're all booked out. You understand that? We're all set.
But you'd go if he
We're
goes?
going to go UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very full situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, yeah, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco's going, and Marco's been very effective.
The EU is one step closer to hitting Russia with another round of sanctions. The 17th sanctions package is touted to be the toughest one yet and includes more than 200 names of individuals suspected of operating Russia's shadow fleet vessels, as well as those accused of human rights violations. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins has more on this story from Brussels.
Ambassadors from the 27 EU member states on Wednesday agreed to a fresh round of sanctions targeting Russia for that country's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Now, this is the 17th sanctions package since that 2022 full-scale invasion, and this one is meant to hit the Kremlin particularly hard and put pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin to enter into those ceasefire negotiations with that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, on the list includes roughly 200 names of oil tankers and vessels accused of operating as part of Russia's murky shadow fleet. Now, this is the way that the Kremlin has been able to circumvent EU sanctions and bring in energy profits to prop up its war machine. We also know the names of individuals and military companies that have been propping up this aggression in Ukraine have been targeted. We've heard experts here in the Belgian capital saying this package of sanctions will particularly bite as it will hit those closest to Russian President Vladimir Putin in the hopes that he will agree to that ceasefire. But this is not the end of the road. Foreign ministers need to give this package the final tick of approval on the 20th of May in Brussels. But there is a lot of time between now and then, and a ceasefire could be brokered. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
In the latest episode of On the Record, Paul Jonsson, the Swedish defense minister, shone some light on the conditions that would have to be met for Stockholm to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine in an event of a ceasefire.
Would Sweden send troops, peacekeeping troops, in the case of a ceasefire?
Yeah, well, we don't exclude that possibility, and of course we participated in this coalition of the willing meetings, and we have said there's three conditions that has to be met. One is some sort of U.S. engagement into such a mission, and then it's important that there has a clear rules of engagement, so we know what the exact purpose of it would be, and then of course it's also important that we take into account NATO's other activities for deterrence and defense as well. But if these conditions are met, then Sweden could certainly consider contributing.
So make sure to tune in to TVP World at 8:30 Central European Summer Time to watch the premiere of this latest episode of On the Record with Aaron Damon. Even though there is a new U.S. administration now being led by Donald Trump, Pristina and Washington continue to cooperate closely, says Prime Minister of Kosovo, Albin Kurti. The official spoke to TVP World about the security situation in the European Union.
We have very good cooperation in terms of security and defense. Military cooperation, we're buying Javelin anti-tank system, we're buying Black Hawks, we're doing co-deployments with US Army like in Kuwait, and Kosovo will be not only a participatory nation, but also a host country of Defender Europe 25. So I look forward to increase cooperation with US, especially our government, which 3 years now has surpassed 2% of our GDP as investment in our army.
George Simion, the far-right candidate in Romania's upcoming presidential elections, expressed his desire to build a pro-Trump MAGA alliance in Europe alongside Karol Nawrocki, Polish presidential candidate backed by the right-wing Law and Justice Party. In an interview with the American conservative magazine, Simion, leader of the radical right-wing Alliance for the Union of Romanians party, called Nawrocki a close ally and potential successor to Polish President Andrzej Duda. Simion emphasized the possibility of forming a bloc of pro-Trump presidents to strengthen ties with the United States and enhance NATO's eastern flank stability. The second round of Romania's presidential elections will take place on May 18th, the same day as Poland's election. In this round, Simion will face off against the pro-European mayor of Bucharest, Nico Șurdan. The U.S. Department of Commerce said it will lift its restrictions on the sale of AI chips to Poland as well as many other countries. The so-called AI diffusion rule was introduced by the Biden administration in mid-January, reportedly in an attempt to curb the spill of the technology to China and Russia. Because of the rule, a vast majority of prospective buyers, including Poland, were faced with a limit of 50,000 AI processors, with merely 18 states made exempt as key allies and partners. Now, the new Trump administration has decided to rescind the regulations, explaining that, quote, new requirements would have stifled American innovation and saddled companies with burdensome new regulatory requirements. Despite the import of chips to Poland made easier, the U.S. has pledged additional steps to strengthen export controls on the technology worldwide. Microchips are the gold of the 21st century, said Polish Minister of Digital Affairs Krzysztof Gawkowski. In a recent development, the U.S. has abolished its ban on exports of microchips used in AI development to 120 countries, including Poland.
For months, me and the Ministry of Digital Affairs, as well as other ministries, defense, foreign affairs, as well as state assets, fought so that the wrong recommendation given by the previous US administration, which limited the number of chips deliveries to Poland, could be abolished. And this is happening right now, and it's a good thing. I'm happy because microchips are the gold of the 21st century. They are vital to the production process of super-fast computers, to the development of artificial intelligence. And thanks to microchips, the country's economy can develop further. So everything we have done over the course of the last few months when it comes to our relations to the US, convincing them that Poland is a reliable partner, that it's worth to send the newest technologies here, that it's worth to cooperate with Poland in the field of artificial intelligence development, it was all worth it.
Now that will be all the news for now, but don't go away as we have the bottom line with Marie Cato coming up next.